Welcome to At Home with the Johnsons. With me, Lisa.
And me, Sam.
We're going to be discussing a load of different issues about having a multi-seven-figure business and what life is like. So we'll be talking life and we'll be talking a bit of business. But we'll also be talking some controversial topics, but we want you to get involved too.
Because we do love a debate.
We love a debate.
And if you want to get involved in the debate, you can join us on our Facebook group At Home with the Johnsons.
Today's episode is a bit tougher than what we would normally do on the podcast. Normally it's quite lighthearted. But today we're going to talk about death for a couple of reasons. For as long as I can remember, my only fear in life other than spiders has been a fear of death. Not a fear of dying, of death itself, the existentialism of death. And then I thought I was the only person that thought like this because no one else seemed to be bothered by it. I used to speak to my sister about it. I used to speak to all different people about it. And they used to say, well, just don't think about it. You didn't know before you were here and you won't know after. That didn't really help me. And then I met Sam, whose only fear in life...
Other than belly buttons.
Yeah, he's scared of belly buttons, which is a bit weird.
I know, strange one.
Is death.
Correct.
More so than me, I would say. Like
very similar in our childhood, when we discussed how we used to feel about it when we were young, when we first kind of came to grips with the finality of it, and how we deal with or don't deal with it. So
you get like proper panic attacks with it though. Like I see you have it.
Sometimes I do, yeah. I've got better with age in that, conversely, I've got better with age and worse with age because I'm getting older. But I've got better with age in that I find ways to compartmentalise, to have techniques to deal with it. The trouble is my techniques often involve alcohol.
Yeah, which isn't great.
Which don't really make any difference to anything. It's that old slippery slope. But yes, so
we've both had this fear for a long period of time and we've had lots of conversations about it. We've both had therapy about it. And then one of my friends, Annie, was diagnosed with a terminal illness. And I spoke to her about it and she said, I'm not scared. And this shocked me to the core. And so I brought Annie on to talk about this situation because if I need help with this, I think there are other people that probably do as well. So welcome to the podcast, Annie.
Hello. Oh, it's so lovely to be here.
It's nice to see you. First of all, just for the benefit of the people watching, tell me what happened with your diagnosis.
Okay, so it was last April. I found a lump in my breast. It wasn't a lump as such, it sort of felt hard and I thought, is it a lump, is it not a lump? So I phoned up my GP. No, we haven't got any appointments. So I had to phone up 111. And I described the symptoms and they said, oh yes, we'll get you an appointment. So a little tip there, if you phone up the GP and they say we haven't got an appointment,
just phone up 111.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Because he saw the urgency in it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And I had got an appointment the next day with my GP who said, oh yes, I think there might be something there. We'll refer you to the hospital. Very long story short, involving CT scans, MRI scans, mammograms, blood tests, poked and prodded all over the place. In June, I was diagnosed with grade 2 breast cancer. And at that point, they said, oh yes, it's treatable. We'll do chemo, surgery, radiation.
The stuff you think is going to happen if you get breast cancer.
Exactly. So it was like, oh, all right then. And at that point, going into that appointment, I thought, oh, as long as they don't say grade 4 or palliative, I'll be fine, you know.
Yeah.
And they didn't, and it was chemo. And I was waiting for the chemo to start. And they said, oh, no, we just want to do one more scan, a PET scan. I don't know if you know PET scans. It involves having a radioactive injection, and you have to sit still for an hour. You're not allowed to read. You're not allowed to, because apparently brain activity doesn't. It's really bizarre.
You just sit there.
You
didn't have to have that with your cancer.
I didn't, but what I'm already thinking is, sorry to kind of interject, is that you're in a very kind of stressful situation already, and you have to sit for an hour with nothing to do other than think about that stressful situation.
It was quite amusing, actually. I mean, looking back, I find everything funny. But
you do, yeah.
So yes, I The appointment involved me going into a little room in the hospital. It's Brighton. It's one of their new wings, brand new. It looked like it'd just been built, you know, it was pristine. And a little nurse came in and she poked and prodded, you know, as they always do with these things. And then she went away without saying, and I was thinking, what have I got to do here? She came back with a little suitcase that she unclicked and got out this like metal, obviously had the radioactive stuff in it.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, was it a drip? Yes, it was a drip. It wasn't an injection.
So they put it in the drip.
So they put it in the drip. And then she went away again. I thought, oh, what's that? Because I'd been told that I'd have to wait. And I thought, is this it? Is this me waiting now? Anyway, she came, but she didn't tell me anything. She came back and she unplugged it all. I thought, oh, okay. And she said, no, she didn't say anything. She just left and said, oh, someone will come back in a minute to get you. And I was sitting on this really uncomfortable chair and you know, and I wasn't allowed to read. Couldn't listen to music or anything. And I was trying to get comfortable and trying to sort of do that and go to sleep and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, an hour and 20 minutes later, this chap came in and said, oh, we're ready to take you in now. I said, oh, because I was really stiff at that point. He said, oh, you could have put your feet up.
Oh.
So thanks for telling me. Anyway, that's all by the by. Anyway, so I had this PET scan and I was due to go to see the oncologist a couple of weeks later, and I got a phone call from the oncologist nurse saying, oh, Dr. Mee would really like to see you.
Oh, that would already worry me.
Yeah. Yes, would like to see. And I actually thought, I suppose my naivety and optimism play a part in all this, but I thought, oh, perhaps they just want me to get along there to organise the chemo. So I thought, okay. And I took my daughter with me, because actually by that point I'd learnt that you have to take someone with you. Because my first appointment where they did all the initial mammograms, I went on my own. I thought, oh, I'm not doing that again. A biopsy is horrible. Anyway, so we went along to the oncologist and he said, really sorry, we've had the results of the PET scan and the cancer has, I can't remember the exact word, travelled to your bones, or it's in your bones. I can't remember what he said. Yeah. But I'm afraid we can't cure it. Oh, I think I said fuck.
That's not like you.
It's not. I think I did. But you know that feeling when you have a shock.
Yeah.
And a couple of other people have said similar. You can't hear anything. You get a rushing in the ears.
Did it actually do that?
Yeah. Rushing in the ears. Your stomach just drops completely. And it's almost like your insides have gone from, that's the only way I can describe it. You just sort of feel as if you're having an out-of-body experience. Oh, yeah.
What was your first question to him?
I think it was my daughter who actually said, how long? I think it was that. Because I was sort of, right, okay, and trying to process it in my head. And I think one of my thoughts was, oh, bloody hell, it's happened. You know, it's
like
actually...
the thing you worry about has happened.
Yeah. And then I said, fuck. And my daughter was actually crying, and she was sort of sat about roughly where you are. So I just grabbed her hand and I said, it's all right. It's all right. And she sort of said, she was crying by that point, and she said, how long? And the doctor was fabulous. I mean, how they do this, I don't know how many times a week they have to do it, but it was just fabulous the way he did it. And he said, well, you know, we obviously can't tell. It's, you know, it can be years and years and years, or it could be shorter, you know. So I took that years and years. I thought, right, I'll have that. I'll have that. That one, please. And then he talked me through the change of treatment plan, because it was going to be chemo, radiation. And he said, no, we're going to change all that. You're just going to have medication now. All meds. Nothing invasive at all, just meds. And I thought, oh, at least I haven't got to do chemo then.
Why did they give you a different treatment plan then?
Do you know, I don't know. I think it's because the cancer in the bones...
You can't get by the same way, I suppose.
No, the chemo doesn't do any of that. And the drug that I'm on, the ribociclib, although it's not chemo, it does the same thing as chemo. So, and it has actually shrunk, the cancer in my breast. Yeah. So it was a question of, right, you've got the meds now. You're going to be under the day unit in the hospital where you go and you get your meds and they check you out, and you have to, have a blood test every so often, scans every so often just to see how it's going. Excuse me. And that's basically what it was. Yeah. So we sort of came out of the doctor's, the oncologist's room, and we sort of just stood there sort of staring into space a little. And obviously I had to give Elfie lots of hugs. And we'd come in separate cars because she was due to go to work and I was due to go home. And the logistics of it. But she said, oh, well, I'm not going to work now.
No.
I'm not going to work now. She went and picked up a prescription that the doctor had given me. And she phoned my other daughter, who left work and came straight home. So we were at home that afternoon, sort of, staring into the middle distance a bit. They were both really quite upset. And I was like, just trying to process it. And the words, we can't cure it. We can't cure it. We're just constantly on loop. And
what was your overriding emotion at that time? Did you feel angry? Did you feel, I don't know, because I'm trying to think how, I imagine there was a period of time before it sunk in properly. Did it just feel almost like surreal?
Yeah, definitely surreal.
Yeah.
Definitely, because obviously from April to that point in July, and I'd been told it was curable, but before that, it was, what if it isn't? What if it isn't? What will I do? But it was very surreal. I've never been angry about it. Never been angry about it.
I think we would be angry.
I'm interested in that. And I may not word the questions very well because
Don't
it's
worry.
quite emotive, but I think I would feel angry because I always go back to the whole, I'm quite a nice person.
Yeah, it's not fair.
There's all these, it's not fair. It sounds like a child. It's not fair. I want to stamp my foot, have a hissy fit because there's all these horrible people, murderers living to be 90, 100 years old. Yeah. That's a whole other chat about religion and any of that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I think I would have been angry. Yeah. And I can you explain? Maybe
I think it's because over the past 5 years, particularly, because I came out of a career that I didn't love and it made me ill, and I've sort of changed my mindset. And my mindset really now is worry is pointless. Absolutely no value in worry. It's a waste of energy. It doesn't get you anywhere.
True.
And I really am of the mindset, if something's worrying me, I go, hang on, can I do something about this? And if I can, right, well, let's put in a plan and let's action something. If I can't do anything about it, I'll just put it on a metaphorical shelf and leave it there. And I can honestly it won't trouble me again.
I think that's brilliant for
I need that.
I did read a great quote, which was something like, you're only sad about things that have happened in the past, and you're only worried about things that haven't happened yet. So if you live in the present, then you extricate yourself from those two emotions, which is true, isn't it?
Since that time, have you had like a jolt where you've gone, oh my God, sort of thing, I'm going to die?
No. Because, as my oncologist said, and they I think they're really careful now, because at no point has any medical professional used the word terminal.
Really?
Never. No. It's incurable. And I suppose there is a slight difference anyway between terminal and incurable.
Well, it feels different. Even the words feel different.
You can have an incurable
disease and live.
Disease, but yeah. And I was in his office actually talking about travel insurance, because I was due to go to visit my brother in Portugal, and I'd Googled travel insurance, just a quick 5-minute Google, while I was, faffing about. And the original, the first results came up £600 for 4 days. I thought, wow. Look at that, what are you joking? But then I talked to people that are in a similar position to me, and they said, oh, no, you want to go to such and such a provider, and got one for £30,
Wow.
And I mentioned this to the oncologist, who first of all said, yes, you must travel. Yes, you must do things. Don't limit yourself. You must, and if it clashes with your medication, we'll sort it out,
Right. Just live, basically.
Which is fabulous. And I said, well, yeah, but, as soon as you tick the terminal box on the insurance, it goes into and he said, well, life's terminal.
That's true.
And he just, life's terminal. And it was, yeah, all right.
Yeah, it is true.
It is, isn't it?
And it's also unpredictably terminal from 1 minute to the next. You know, we have no idea what's around the corner physically, medically, you know.
But there's still something different, I think, about someone telling you are, like, we know we're going to die, but if someone's telling you are going to die and gives you a finite amount of time.
Because we do our best to ignore that and hold on to the hope that someone's going to cryogenically freeze us.
No, I think that what's going to happen, here's what I'm hoping for. Yeah. I'm hoping that because of the speed of what's happening with AI, they're going to be able to take us, our inside in our brain, upload it to an avatar, and we're going to all live in the metaverse when we're dead.
Oh my
so
word.
We'll still be there just without these bodies. I definitely think this is going to happen.
However, can I just butt in?
I just need to live
I'm not
long
sure there'd be
enough
room enough for mine, but anyway.
That may be based on a TV show that we like to watch called Upload.
It is based on that, but I think it could come true.
Because I don't, if we're talking about based on TV shows coming true, I mean...
But think about it. All it is like our memories and all of that is what makes us us.
I think I agree, and the speed in which AI and that kind of thing is moving forward.
Well, look at 50 years ago, talk about the internet, people have looked at you strange, wouldn't they?
Exactly.
And it's absolutely part of everyday life.
They're definitely going
now.
to be able to do it eventually, but I just need that to happen now.
Yeah, sooner for me than you.
So we've talked about you don't really have a fear of death. Why don't you? I just don't understand.
That's a massive question.
But why don't you? You might be here.
Could you analyse?
Because I won't be here.
Yeah.
But
I won't know.
I know, but you know now that you won't know then.
That's a classic Lisa sentence there,
I can't unpack that.
You know now that, because this is exactly the same as what my sister says to me. She said, do you remember before you were born? And I go, no. And she went, exactly. It's just going to be exactly the same as that. And I'm like, but I wasn't born then. Now I am. That's like saying, what did you say earlier? Like,
I had a mate who went, well, you weren't alive in the French Revolution, were you? You don't know about that. I said, but I have been alive now. So the before and the after thing, that's why I find it hard to comprehend, because I hadn't been here to create these memories before. Whereas now I have all this stuff in my head.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of the actual
process of, neither am I.
Not at all. But the way I see it, I mean, I was often talking about, I'm probably just over halfway through my life, before the diagnosis. I'm probably just over halfway. I'm fully, I lived to probably about 100, and I taught the girls that I'll be a burden to them walking around town with a trolley full of cats, that kind of thing. Yeah. But now I think, okay, well, that's shortened. So all the things that I want to do between now and then, I've just got to do in a shorter space of time.
I love that. I feel we could take... I think we embrace that to a point.
I think that's why I think our fear of death is why we live. We live people say no one lives like you. You just do things. You do things on the spur of the moment. You go and you do things, and there's never a time when you're not doing something. I think that's a fear that we could not fit everything in.
Is it a fear of getting to the end and thinking, well, I haven't done anything? Because you can't say that.
I don't think it is that. I think the more I do, the more I want to do, and the more I want to live. But I think it's an ego thing. Like someone said to me once, I think your thing is an ego thing, because I obviously, because I'm me, can't imagine a world without me in it, because I'm in it. Yeah. And so I don't like the thought of a world going on and me not seeing it.
But your legacy will be here.
I don't care about that. I want it.
This is the interest. It's so interesting, Annie, to hear you say these things, because a lot of people say, when we're talking about global warming, for example, or pollution, and like, you need to do this for your kids and your kids' kids and your kids' kids', and we kind of both go, well, we don't care, because we won't know.
Won't be here.
Why will it matter? We won't even know.
Which I get sounds very selfish and short-sighted, and I do totally understand it. But if I'm fundamentally, factually basic about this, I won't be here. And related to that, I have another question that I'm just going to jump to. Are you a religious person?
No.
Not so. You are fully paid up atheist or agnostic, would you say? Or
yeah, I dabbled in it. I mean, I got married in a church. Yeah. But less said about that, the better. And I sort of dabbled in it, but I'm like, no, I can't see how it can be a thing.
That's another
that's
problem.
Even
can't
worse.
See how.
Yeah, because I remember when my dad knew he was going to die, and I'm fine with this. He said, I'm going to a much better place than where we are now, and he was
none of that.
100%.
Sam and I have
Sure.
tried really hard to believe in religion, because we think that's the answer to not feeling scared of death. Because if you believe you're not going to be gone and you're going to be going somewhere, that's loads better. So we've tried to force ourselves to believe in religion, but we can't quite do
I'm
it.
fascinated by religions and
Yeah.
churches and places of worship and the history of
Yeah.
it. I find just as an objective history buff,
Yeah.
it's so
it
interesting.
is, yeah.
But I think we spoke before we started recording about being pragmatic,
Yeah.
and my pragmatism goes, like you just said, come on.
What's the
Really?
likeliness?
What's
Yeah.
the chances?
I mean, obviously, I've been thinking. Not been thinking about becoming religious at all. But I've been having thoughts and conversations with people.
Yeah.
And I've come to the conclusion that actually the whole "you'll go to heaven and you'll go to hell" thing is basically a way of controlling the people.
Well, it is. It always
Isn't it?
has been. That, the
Absolutely.
sun,
Yeah.
believing in
Yeah.
the sun and the moon is where religion
and
started.
and,
it
and
was saying.
you must be a good person or you'll go to hell. Hang on, shouldn't you be a good person anyway?
Yeah.
Regardless of
That's
what
really
what
good.
the punishment's going to
Yeah,
be.
it's like you should only do nice things if there's someone there to watch you.
Exactly.
You know, we should all be living our lives
Yeah,
in the
anyway.
right way,
Yeah.
regardless.
You should do nice things because it's nice for people and the world's a nicer place.
Yeah,
And it's-
Can we believe in religion 1%? It makes me feel better.
1%. I don't know.
If there's a 1% chance
there's
that there'll
this-
be something else after, I'll feel better than if there's no percent.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you can do it in percentages. I'm not
Yeah.
sure it works
I'm
like
not
that.
sure about that.
No.
But whether there's something in, I mean, I don't believe in ghosts or spirits or past
What about
lives or
energy?
anything. Energy,
Because maybe our
possibly.
energy has to go somewhere.
Possibly. I mean, I think it's arrogant for anyone to say no, it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
No,
can't,
nothing.
no,
No.
can
Yeah.
I think you've got to have this. Well, it might be. Personally, I don't think so, but
Yeah.
people do, and I absolutely respect anyone that I don't poo-poo them or say that's a load of rubbish or anything.
Would
like
you
that.
hope there is? Because I asked my friend Karen that. She said no. She'd much rather there'd be nothing. She sees it like a very long sleep. And I was like, well, it's not a long sleep. She ain't going to wake up again.
I suppose it depends on who they'd be when I got there.
Yeah.
Don't want to run into anyone you don't want to run into.
I heard something really interesting. Someone said, if when you die, if you ended up in a room with all the people that you knew, who would you look for? I thought, oh, that's interesting.
It's
isn't it?
interesting, isn't it?
Who would you go and look for?
I'd go and look for Paulie.
Your friend, your best friend, yeah. I think I'll be after my mum and dad. But
Yeah.
going off on a tangent slightly, one of the greatest programs we've ever watched on TV is called This Is Us. Okay?
Oh, yes.
You watch
Love that
it.
show.
Yes.
So she, Becca, was married to Jack
Yeah.
for years and years and years. Then Jack died, and then she got with the other guy
Best friend.
who is called, I
Can't
can't
remember his
remember. And they were together for probably as long as she was with Jack. However, on the very last episode, there was a scene when they were on a train, which was representing the afterlife and where you would go. And she kind of just walked past her partner of the last 30 years and said, "Hi,
get
how
to
are you?"
Jack.
To get to her true first love,
But for
Jack.
him, she was the true love.
But how would he feel, the second
Yeah.
partner, how would he feel in this, beautiful...
Yeah.
It worried us.
Yeah.
We talked about this for a long time.
Would you walk past me on a train?
Yeah. Like, if I die and you get together with someone else, what if you like that other person more? And if there is a heaven, you end up with her and I'll just be on my own.
Yeah. You see, this is why it's all nonsense, isn't
This is
it?
why
Really?
it's better for
It
them
is.
to be
Really,
nice.
to
I
be
think
honest. Sorry, anyone that believes it, but it
Well,
is
no,
nonsense.
and as you rightly said, total respect, would never judge. We both came from very religious families, so we've seen both sides of the coin. But I think I admire you so much. I find you quite inspirational, genuinely, I do.
Bless you. Thank you.
Because I wish and I'm trying to learn from you because you're very calm. And I think that helps. You're pragmatic, you're calm, you're objective. All of those things are what come across from you. And I think if
But
we
also,
can
you
embrace
think
that.
differently. So you've gone like, right, now I know that at some point in the next few years I'm going to die. I better go and do everything now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if we were told we were going to die, we'd just go into a major meltdown and do absolutely nothing.
I'd probably drink myself to an earlier death.
Not a bad way to go.
Well, no, that's what goes through my head.
So what things do you want to do?
Oh, gosh. We already know some of them. I mean, things like paying off my mortgage so that my children, my daughters...
So that's your legacy part of
yeah,
things.
Yeah. And, of course, the charity. That in the weeks after my diagnosis, in fact, 3 days after, I was sitting in the car. We were going out for a walk to a nice National Trust place, leaves and ponds and whatever. And it was about a 45-minute drive. And we were quite quiet. We spent a bit of time being quiet, and we spent some of the time, laughing and joking, because that's who we are. But we were quiet on this journey. And my brain started ticking over. I've got a power here. I've got cancer. So I can perhaps do some awareness. I could do some speaking. I could, what can I do? So I phoned up a friend of ours, a PR lady who we know very well, and said, can you help me? She said, absolutely, I can help you. She said, first thing you want to do is a blog, then you want to do a podcast. And she was saying, right, do this, So I started the blog straight away, which was and the first ones were quite raw.
You could tell, even reading them.
Yeah, real description of what happened and how we were feeling and everything. And I thought at that point, I want to support a charity, perhaps, breast cancer, Copperfield, something like that. But as I was going along with my girls, who were 20 and 23 at the time, I thought, actually, I think what I'd prefer to do is start one of my own, start a charity of my own. My 2 girls are here. They've just started their careers, and they're having to put things on hold to take me to hospital, having time off work, running around. And I thought, and I sort of Googled a little bit about what support there might be for people of that age, and there wasn't much. No. There's obviously, quite rightly, support for children, if their parents, absolutely, quite rightly. But there doesn't seem to be much for young adults. And you become an adult and everyone expects you to
can cope with
to
everything.
be,
Yeah. Of course you can't.
I don't know when I signed up to being an adult.
I know.
I'm not very adulty
I don't
at the best of
consider
times.
myself one still, but anyway.
I agree. Same.
So I thought, there must be loads of people in a similar position, perhaps even worse, because we've got a very supportive family who are very supportive in lots of different ways. And I thought there must be other young adults out there who've perhaps got a single parent, perhaps no other family, and they're struggling. They're having to take time off work, all that kind of stuff.
The mental load.
Exactly. So I thought, what if I can do something to help those people? So me and my daughters, we sat down, because I said, what would you, what would have helped you?
Yeah.
And we talked about, getting counselling, getting support, being with others in the same position, all that, I thought, that's what I'll do then.
You just did it.
So I've set it. It's not a charity, it's a CIC. I call it a charity, but it's not, different. But basically, it's going to be supporting young adults who are in that position. We're still setting it up. We haven't. There are lots of bits of paperwork and all that to get into place. But I've actually got the CIC. I've got the number, and I've trademarked the logo that my lovely friend Michael did. It's a beautiful logo. So we've sort of got that done. But we've just got to get the perhaps our terms, that kind of stuff.
And do you see this as the legacy you want to leave?
Yeah, I think so, definitely.
I think we could definitely learn something here.
How has your diagnosis changed how you live now?
Gosh, well, I'm definitely more productive, more focused, definitely.
Steve Jobs said that.
Yeah.
It suddenly he realised what mattered, what didn't matter, and got on with what mattered.
Yeah.
Can I ask physically in yourself, because you look well, you seem well, you sound well. Is that there will come a time, being brutally honest, when that isn't the case. Yeah. But at the moment, is the prognosis that you will be kind of well for...
Yeah.
Time.
The letter that I got, the first letter, because they always... your oncologist will send a letter to your GP and you get a copy of it. Yeah. And it's full of loads of letters and numbers. And
I had that for my prostate.
What's all that about? Yeah. But then at the bottom it said, and the prognosis is in the order of years. All right, I'll hang on to that. I'll have that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And in fact, all the medical staff that have met me have said, well, your attitude's going to get you
Yeah. And
The
that's another
positive
thing, isn't it?
attitude
Yeah.
is so, and that's one thing I want to explore actually on my podcast as well. Get someone medical in and say how.
I think
Does
it
this-
has an
yeah.
effect. When Paulie, my friend, got cancer, his was terminal. And he went into a place like a hospice with other cancer patients. And now he's really young, 50s, and lots of other people who were in there. And he said the difference of the speed of death between those that just resigned themselves to dying and those that still lived was, a marked difference.
Yeah. Well, you hear all these stories, don't you, of grandparents living until their grandchildren are born and things like that. There's the will
It's
of
fascinating. I think there's a whole discussion podcast around just that, you know.
We should do some research.
Because I used to be quite negative about these kind of things, but I'm getting less and less so on that as I get older.
Oh, your mental state can change your physical state,
Oh,
no doubt.
100%.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if it can in that, then why not in this situation as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, at no point, say, I haven't felt angry. Haven't really felt, although I did cry. The only time I've cried, you'll laugh at this, was at the end of July. About 5 days before the end of July, I got an email from the HMRC saying, you owe us £900 and you've got to pay it by the 31st of July. And I was like, so I phoned them up. And because I'd been on a pay it in bits plan.
Yeah.
And I thought it was all splendid and super. But I got this email saying, you've got to pay it till then. So I phoned them up. Nice lady on the end of the phone. And I found myself, I've just been diagnosed with cancer. And the poor woman, I don't think quite knew what to do with it. But she was lovely actually. She said, no, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. We're here to help you. You're actually on your plan. So I was like, why didn't they say that? Why didn't they send me this email? But that's the only time I've cried.
Wow.
And that's because of the shock of, oh, bloody hell, I've got to get 900 quid in 5 days, you know.
I think I'd be annoyed. Like we were talking before about if someone gave us a 6-month diagnosis, I'd be annoyed at stupid things. I'd be annoyed at I won't be able to watch the next series of something that comes out. I'd be annoyed by everything. I would definitely be angry. I think you're brilliant.
I do, yeah. I have to say, absolutely inspirational.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to, because obviously I had my own cancer scare, amazingly it was dealt with. Yeah. But even coming from that place, it's not gone. It's in remission now, right? So every 6 months, again, the wording a bit like the terminal thing. Every 6 months, I have my blood test, and for a good 2 or 3 weeks, I'm a little bit on edge, and I'm, and then it comes back and it's all good. So I do kind of relate to that feeling. However, the way it's just the way you deal with it. I think there's so much.
It's all
I
about
could learn.
mindset, isn't it? And we can learn a lot from that.
I mean, it was interesting what you said at the beginning was, we'd think, why me? And my thought is, well, why not me? It's the great leveller, isn't it? I mean, when I was getting my diagnosis, we were seeing in the news about the King and Kate getting theirs, and it's absolutely the great leveller. Yeah. Anyone can get it.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't discriminate at all.
No. It is a leveller.
So it's like, why not me?
So all you can control is the way you react.
It's how you deal with it. Absolutely.
Well, I think you're dealing with it brilliantly.
Me too.
Thank you.
Very impressed.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Guys, if you have a fear of death, or even if you don't, and you've found some way of dealing with the way you think about it, I would love you to come onto the group At Home with the Johnsons and talk to me about it, because I think it's a really interesting subject. I don't think people talk about death as much as we should, which I think is weird because it's going to happen to every single person, and yet we try and hide from it. I think maybe we do need to be more open about these things so that if things do happen, we already kind of have a plan of what we would do about it, because no one really does. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon.
See ya.
You've been listening to At Home with the Johnsons.
Why not come and join the discussion at our Facebook group At Home with the Johnsons?
Go and check the link in the show notes.